Welcome to Healthcare Today. A few of the tendon in our foot, they are very prone to injury. So that can be a direct injury or it can be a degenerative injury. The most strongest tendon of the foot is not only the strongest of the foot but also the whole body. The tendon of the back of the foot, Achilles tendon, which is named according to the Greek god Achilles, is the most common tendon for injury. If we see all the injuries of this tendon, we can see that there are very common pattern of the injury. One is injury from direct trauma, usually road traffic accident or sharp cut with a sharp object like knife, glass, this kind of things. The most commonly happen in this tendon. The other one is degenerative injury. Degenerative injury can happen both in younger population and older population. The younger population usually are the sports active persons. That means the athletes. They usually get this kind of degenerative injury. Due to their extra activity, sports activity, these tendons get degeneration due to overuse and may get injured or ruptured in a minor trauma. In older population, usually the people with diabetes and hypothyroid, their tendon get degenerated and ruptured. All this rupture, they happens at the mid segment of the tendon. That mid segment of the tendon usually have a precarious blood supply. We call it watershed area, and that's why degeneration happens and very prone to injury. There are one injury where the tendon, the attachment of the heel bone also get degenerated. This happens due to some different shape of the heel bone. We call it insertional tendinosis, and that also continues for a long years together, degeneration, pain, and the insertion area, attachment area get thick and lot of bony formation happens, and that area becomes weak and may get injured in minimal trauma. How to treat all this injury? So the injuries that happens in younger population, like all those athletes, most of them they need surgical treatment because they have very active life and they have very high demand. But the injuries in older population, who injuries are due to the diabetic degeneration or other things, usually we treat them in a plaster cast and early rehabilitation program. Even in younger population, where after injury the tendon is very near, close, not distracted very much, and their sports activity related or other activity related demand is not that high, we can consider conservative treatment with plaster cast and rehab program, but definitely not in a very active high-end athlete or other high physical demand population who is having this kind of injury. We can offer non-surgical treatment with plaster cast. The injury, when it happens directly from its attachment to the heel bone, all this injury, they are degenerative injury and they need surgical treatment only. We cannot treat them in a plaster cast, they never heals. So why treatment of Achilles tendon injury is required? This is a very strong tendon and it helps in push off of our foot while walking, running and other mobility of our human body. So this tendon pulls the heel up and we can walk and go forwards. We can jump, we can run, we can walk due to the force of this tendon created by. If the tendon is not functional, then all this activity will be hampered. That's why this tendon injury must require a treatment. Either it is a plaster cast or surgery. So the plaster cast treatment in an older population, they are successful because their functional demand is very less, their activity demand is very less, so they can cope up. But the young population, they don't, so they need a surgical treatment and direct end-to-end apposition and repair. Whatever the injury of your tendon, definitely you need some treatment. We care for you.